The transport ship Busan's hope cut through the darkness of space, carrying the most important passengers in human history. Ambassador Kim Hannah pressed her face against a small window, watching as something impossible came into view. The Galactic Council Station was beyond anything humanity had ever imagined. It stretched across space like a crystal city, its towers twisting in spirals that hurt to look at. Light poured from every surface, not harsh white light like human ships use, but colors that seemed to shift and dance. Ships moved between the towers like glowing fish, some so large they could swallow Earth's biggest cities. First time seeing it? Asked Park Jin-ho, her military guard. He was young for such an important job, but his eyes were sharp and careful. Hannah nodded. First time for all of us. No human has ever been this far from Earth. Her assistant, Lee Miho, floated over to join them. The artificial gravity on their ship was weak, making everyone move like underwater dancers. The readings are incredible. That station is generating more power than our entire solar system. 6 months ago, the message had arrived at Earth. It came in perfect human languages: English, Korean, Spanish, Chinese, even though humanity had never made contact with aliens before. The message was simple. The Galactic Council requests the presence of Earth's representative. Come to the Kepler 442 system. An escort will meet you. Earth had celebrated for weeks. Finally, humanity would take its place among the stars. They had prepared gifts, cultural exchanges, trade agreements. Hannah had spent months learning about diplomacy, practicing speeches about peace and friendship. But something felt wrong about this invitation. The language was too formal, too cold. It felt more like a command than a welcome. Their ship shuddered as something grabbed it with invisible hands. Through the window, Hannah saw a vessel approach, if it could be called a vessel. It looked like living metal, flowing and changing shape as it moved. No windows, no visible engines, no signs of crew. Unknown ship. Came a voice that seemed to speak directly into their minds. Follow. The alien ship guided them toward the station. As they got closer, Hannah realized the scale was even more impossible than she had thought. What looked like small details from far away were actually massive structures. Buildings that could house millions of people. Docking bays that could fit Earth's entire space fleet. Their ship was pulled into one of the smaller bays. Though smaller, still meant it was larger than any human building. The moment they landed, the air around their ship changed. Hannah could see it shimmer like heat waves. They're changing our atmosphere, Miho said, checking his instruments, making it safe for us to breathe outside. The airlock opened, and 3 figures waited for them. Hannah had to work hard not to stare. The first looked like a tall human covered in mirror-bright skin. The second floated above the ground, its body made of what looked like blue fire. The third was the most disturbing. It kept changing shape, first like an octopus, then like a tree, then like something with too many arms. Humans. The mirror being spoke, its voice coming from a device around its neck. I am Escort Prime. You will follow. You will not speak unless asked. You will not touch anything. This was not the warm welcome they had expected. They walked through corridors that made no sense. The walls curved in impossible ways, sometimes becoming the floor without warning. Gravity seemed to change direction randomly. Other aliens passed by, some floating, some crawling on walls, some that looked like living clouds. None of them looked at the humans. How many species are there? Hannah whispered to her companions. Current count, 847. Escort Prime said without turning around. Soon to be 846. The words hit Hannah like ice water. 846. Not 47. They were planning to remove someone. They entered a massive chamber that took Hannah's breath away. It rose up and down farther than she could see, filled with thousands of levels. Each level was packed with alien beings of every possible shape and size. Some swam through the air, others clung to surfaces, others existed as pure light or sound. At the center was a raised platform with 5 enormous figures. These were clearly the leaders. Their presence filled the chamber like pressure in her ears. Representative of species designation human. Boomed a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. You stand in the circle of judgment. Judgment, not welcome, not introduction. Judgment. Hannah looked up at the thousands of alien faces staring down at her. She had prepared for many things: cultural misunderstandings, language barriers, even rejection. But she had not prepared for this. She was not here as humanity's ambassador to join a galactic community. She was here as humanity's defendant in a trial that had already begun. The largest of the 5 leaders, a being of shifting silver light, spoke again. You are charged with violations of galactic peace. The evidence will now be presented. Images filled the air above the chamber. Clips from human movies showing wars and explosions, intercepted military communications, historical footage of Earth's conflicts, everything that made humans look violent and dangerous. Hannah realized with growing horror that they had been watching Earth for a long time. They had judged humanity before ever making contact. This invitation was not a welcome. It was a sentencing. Ambassador Kim Hannah stood in the center of the massive chamber, feeling like a single grain of sand on an endless beach. Above her, thousands of alien beings watched from levels that stretched up into darkness. The air hummed with their breathing, clicking, and electronic sounds. Council Prime Zektar, the silver being of light, grew brighter as he spoke. The evidence is clear. Humanity is too dangerous for galactic society. More images appeared in the air. Human soldiers, nuclear weapons, scenes from war movies. To the aliens, it all looked the same. Violence was violence. Your species creates entertainment about warfare, said another council member, this one looking like a giant crystal tree. You have over 3,000 words in your languages just for different types of fighting. Your children play games about combat, added a third, whose voice sounded like grinding rocks. Your history is nothing but one war after another. Hannah wanted to explain that the images were missing context, that humans were capable of great kindness too. But every time she tried to speak, the council members talked over her. Therefore, Zektar announced, his light pulsing with satisfaction, humanity will be contained within your birth system. We are placing automatic defense platforms around your sun. No human ship will ever leave your solar system again. The chamber filled with approving sounds, chirps, hums, electronic beeps. Most of the species seemed happy with this decision. To them, it was merciful. Usually, when they found a violent species, they simply destroyed it. Hannah looked up toward the viewing section where Park Jinho and Lee Miho sat with the other human observers. Jinho gave her a small nod. They had planned for this possibility. She turned back to face the council, her voice carrying clearly through the vast space. Honor members of the Galactic Council, I have heard your judgment. Good, Zektar said. Then you accept our wisdom in this matter. Your transport will be allowed to return to Earth to deliver this message to your people. I reject your judgment completely, Hannah said calmly. The chamber went silent. It was a kind of silence that felt heavy, like the air before a thunderstorm. Furthermore, Hannah continued, her voice never wavering, acting under full authority given to me by the Terran Federation, I hereby formally declare war on the Galactic Council and all its member species. For a moment, nothing happened. Then chaos exploded through the chamber. Aliens jumped to their feet, floated higher, or expanded in size. The sound they made were like nothing human ears had ever heard. Roars, shrieks, electronic screeching, musical wails that hurt to listen to. Some aliens flashed bright colors. Others released clouds of gas. Others vibrated so fast they became blurs. Silence! Zektar's voice boomed like thunder, and his light flared so bright that Hannah had to shield her eyes. The chamber quieted, but the tension remained thick enough to cut with a knife. You declare war? Zektar's voice now carried what sounded like amusement. Your entire species is fewer than 100 space vessels. Your technology is primitive fusion drives and simple projectile weapons. The Galactic Council commands 10 billion ships, reality-bending technology, and a combined military power of 847 species. Hannah smiled. The expression meant nothing to most aliens in the chamber, but something about it made them uncomfortable. Numbers have never been everything. Council Prime. David killed Goliath with a single stone. What is this, David? Asked the crystal tree being, its surface flashing confused colors. A story from our world, Hannah replied, about a small boy who defeated a giant warrior that no one else could beat. Another council member, shaped like a floating jellyfish, pulsed with irritated light. This is clearly proof of mental illness. Perhaps immediate sterilization will be more kind than letting them try to fight. No, Zektar said, his attention fixed on Hannah like a spotlight. Let them attempt their pathetic war. When we scatter their tiny fleet across space, it will serve as a lesson to any other primitive species that might think of challenging US. Hannah bowed politely, the way she'd been taught in diplomatic school. Then we understand each other perfectly. Council Prime, my shuttle will leave within 1 hour. I suggest you use that time to prepare your defenses. She turned to walk away, but stopped and looked back over her shoulder. Oh, and Council Prime, you might want to look at those human transmissions again. This time, pay attention to the stories with the small side winds. As the human delegation walked from the chamber in perfect formation, their footsteps echoing in the sudden quiet, most of the aliens watched in confusion. A few, however, felt something they had never experienced before, a cold touch of uncertainty. In the viewing section, Park Jinho whispered to Lee Miho, "Think they bought it?" Miho smiled grimly. "They think we're crazy enough to fight a war we can't win. They have no idea we're smart enough to fight a war they can't see coming." Behind them, the Galactic Council erupted into debate. Some wanted to destroy humanity immediately. Others wanted to study these strange beings who declared war when facing impossible odds. None of them considered the possibility that the humans had just won the first battle without firing a single shot. In her final transmission to Earth, Hannah sent a simple message. Phase 1 complete. They're exactly as predictable as Dr. Song said they would be. Beginning Phase 2. 6 months before Ambassador Kim Hannah declared war, Dr. Song Nari sat in her tiny office aboard the research ship New Seoul. The walls were covered with holographic screens showing alien communications that Earth's listening posts had intercepted. As head of the team studying alien cultures, she had spent years preparing for first contact. What she had discovered made her hands shake. "Admiral Cho," she said into her communication device, "we have a serious problem." Admiral Cho Sunwoo appeared as a blue hologram above her desk. His weathered face looked tired. He had been preparing Earth's defenses for months. "How serious, Doctor?" "They're not evaluating us for membership in their council. They're building a case to lock us in our solar system forever. Maybe even to kill us all." Nari touched her screen and alien faces appeared. Dozens of different species, some beautiful, some terrifying, all completely inhuman. "I've been studying every species in their council. Admiral, they're nothing like us." "Explain." Nari pulled up her research charts. Every alien species follows one of 3 paths. First, hive minds like the collective of Vorth. They think as one giant brain, perfect teamwork, but no individual creativity. Second, apex predators like Council Prime Zektar species. They're incredibly smart individually, but can't really work together. Third, peaceful plant eaters who develop big brains to avoid fights. Admiral Cho leaned forward in his chair. And humans were completely different. We're the only species that evolved as both pack hunters and persistence hunters. She showed him videos of ancient human hunts, modern military units, even sports teams. Pack hunters work together to kill prey. Persistence hunters chase prey until it collapses from exhaustion. We learn to do both. I still don't understand. Nari stood up and paced around her small office. Every other species in the galaxy either fights alone or moves like a robot army. Humans do something unique. We fight as a team of individuals. A wolf pack has fixed roles: alpha, beta, hunters. A hive mind moves with perfect unity. But humans adapt in real time. We improvise. We change tactics mid-battle. She pulled up military footage from Earth's history, ancient battles, modern conflicts, even training exercises. The aliens looked at our war movies and saw violence. They missed the real story. Humans are the only species that studies their defeats to make sure they never happen again. Every human war created new ways to fight, new technologies, new strategies. But their technology is so advanced. Technology doesn't matter in the right kind of war, Admiral. The aliens have never faced an enemy that could think like them, but fight completely differently. They've gotten lazy with their superior weapons. Nari brought up her final analysis, detailed psychological profiles of every council species. Most importantly, they've never met a species that could turn their own diversity against them. The council stays united through fear and hierarchy. But what happens when someone understands each member species better than they understand each other? Admiral Cho was quiet for a long moment. We've been preparing for the wrong kind of war. Yes, sir. They expect us to attack their ships with our ships. But the real war will be fought in their minds. 3 months after Hannah's declaration, Commander Yu Tai-hyuk's stealth ship drifted silently near a council supply station. His crew of 12 specialists worked without making a sound, their equipment designed to be invisible to alien sensors. Ghost mode active, whispered communications Officer Kong Jisu. Their security system still can't detect our dampening technology. Tai-hyuk smiled in the darkness. The Council's sensors were built to spot massive battleships and huge energy signatures. They had never needed to look for something as small and quiet as human cleverness. Information package ready, reported technical specialist Han Miru. This will hit 17 different species networks at the same time. The package wasn't a computer virus. It was something much more dangerous. Carefully crafted information designed to make each species suspicious of the others. The crystal beings would receive evidence that the energy beings were hiding advanced technology. The hive minds would discover that the individual species were secretly plotting against collective consciousness. Send it, Tai-hyuk ordered. As the information spread through council networks, it would look like it came from their own intelligence services. Each species would believe they had uncovered proof that their allies were actually enemies. Back on Earth, Dr. Song continued her research. She had discovered something that made her both excited and terrified. The Council has ruled the galaxy for over 1,000,000 years, she explained to her assistant, Dr. Kim Daeho. But they've never had to deal with real competition. They either destroy dangerous species or absorb peaceful ones. What makes us different? We're the first species they've encountered that's dangerous but not stupid. Every other violent species they've met was either too primitive to be a real threat, or so aggressive they destroyed themselves before becoming a problem. Song pulled up a comparison chart. Humans are patient. We can wait generations for revenge. We're social. We remember what others do to us, and we share that information. And we're persistent. We never give up, even when we're losing badly. So what's our advantage? The Council thinks strength means having the biggest weapons and the most ships. But humans learn something different from our wars. Real strength means understanding your enemy better than they understand themselves. It means turning their advantages into weaknesses. She showed him footage of human military history, small forces defeating larger ones through superior strategy and psychological warfare. The Council is about to learn why humans have survived every disaster on Earth. We don't just adapt to our environment. We change our environment to suit us. 6 months after Ambassador Kim Hannah declared war, Admiral Thakran of the Council's 3rd Fleet stared at his tactical display with growing confusion. His 4 arms moved nervously as he tried to make sense of what he was seeing. Another supply convoy had vanished. The 12th this month. 50 massive cargo ships carrying weapons, food, and fuel for Council forces, gone without a trace. No explosions, no distress calls, no wreckage floating in space. The ships had simply stopped existing. Report, he demanded from his aide, a floating creature that looked like a blue jellyfish. No weapon signatures detected. Admiral. No energy discharges. No signs of battle. It's like the convoy never existed at all. Thakran had commanded fleets for 300 years. He had fought wars against rebels, pirates, and rogue planets. But he had never faced an enemy that could make entire fleets disappear without leaving evidence. What about our communication networks? Any security breaches? None detected, Admiral. But we keep receiving strange orders from command. Strange how? The aide's form flickered with nervous energy. Yesterday, command ordered us to attack the Rigel system. This morning, they sent new orders telling us to defend the Centauri colonies instead. When we asked about the confusion, both sets of orders checked out as authentic. For the first time in his long military career, Admiral Thokran felt something his species rarely experienced: fear. Across the galaxy at Council Prime Station, Zektar's silver light flickered with frustration as reports poured in from every corner of space. The human war was nothing like anything the Council had ever faced. "They have no fleet," complained Council Member Vree, his crystal body ringing like an angry bell. "No army, no battle stations, no territory to attack. How do you fight an enemy that refuses to show itself? They are everywhere and nowhere," clicked another member, its insect-like form twitching with agitation. "My security forces have detected human infiltrators in 12 different sectors. But when we investigate, we find only merchants, scientists, and diplomats, all with perfect identification papers." Zektar accessed the latest intelligence reports, and what he read made his light dim with worry. The pattern was becoming clear, and it terrified him more than any fleet of warships could. The humans weren't fighting a normal war. They were doing something his people called information warfare, fighting with ideas instead of weapons. "Show me the Andromeda Station incident," he ordered. A holographic display appeared, showing security footage from a trade station. Two species that had been allies for centuries, the Builders and the Shapers, had suddenly attacked each other in violent rage. Both sides claimed the other had broken ancient peace treaties, supported by historical documents that seemed completely real. "The humans caused this?" "We believe so, Council Prime, but we have no proof. The documents pass every authentication test. The anger seems genuine. It's as if the humans simply found existing problems and made them worse." Zektar realized a horrible truth. The humans weren't creating hatred from nothing. They were finding the natural cracks in the Council's force unity and applying pressure until those cracks became breaks. In deep space, Captain Imjawan smiled as he reviewed reports on his ship, Peaceful Trader. According to the official records, his crew were simple merchants selling Earth goods to alien worlds. Admiral Cho would have recognized them as some of Earth's most skilled intelligence officers. Status report. He asked his second-in-command, Major Shinyu Bean. "Operation Harmony is working perfectly. The crystal beings and energy beings are starting to distrust each other after receiving evidence of secret weapon development. The hive minds are beginning to question their collective decisions as individual nodes start thinking for themselves." "Any resistance?" "Almost none. Most species have never encountered deception on this scale. They interpret everything through their own cultural understanding, which makes them predictable." Jae-Hwan nodded. This was exactly what Dr. Song had predicted. The Council's greatest strength, their diversity, was also their greatest weakness. Their differences made them powerful, but those same differences made them vulnerable to anyone who understood how to turn them against each other. "What about our main mission?" Yubine's smile was sharp as a blade. "Ambassador Kim sends her regards. Phase 2 begins tomorrow." Meanwhile, on a hidden research station, Dr. Song continued her work. She had discovered something that changed everything. "The Council has maintained peace through fear," she explained to her team. "Every species is afraid of being expelled or destroyed, so they follow orders without question. But fear-based unity is fragile." She showed them psychological profiles of different alien species. Each species has natural instincts that the Council has suppressed. The crystal beings want to create beautiful things, but they're forced to build weapons. The plant species want to explore new worlds, but they're kept as farmers. The energy beings want to share knowledge, but they're told to keep secrets. So what do? We give them permission to be themselves again. We show them that the Council's rules aren't natural laws. They're just the preferences of the strongest species. Her assistant, Dr. Kim Dae-ho, looked worried. "Won't this cause chaos?" "In the short term, yes, but chaos is better than slavery. And once the artificial unity breaks down, we can help them build something better, voluntary cooperation, instead of forced submission." Song pulled up a galactic map showing communication patterns between different species. Red lines showed official Council channels, while green lines showed the informal networks humans had been quietly building. The beautiful thing about this approach is that we're not conquering anyone. We're liberating them. When this is over, they'll thank us for showing them they had choices they never knew existed. 1 year after Ambassador Kim Hanna declared war, the Galactic Council met in emergency session. The Great Chamber that once held 847 species now had fewer than 400 in attendance. Empty seats stretched across entire sections where species had either left the council completely or were too busy fighting among themselves to attend meetings. Council Prime Zektar Silverlight flickered weakly as he tried to call the meeting to order. The past year had drained him in ways that should have been impossible for an energy being. His once brilliant radiance now looked more like a dying candle. "The situation cannot continue," announced Admiral Thokran, who now represented what remained of the hegemony forces. "Our supply lines have collapsed. Our communication networks are compromised. Half our member species refuse to follow orders. And we still don't know where the human military is." "Because there is no human military," said a familiar voice from the chamber entrance. Every alien eye, sensor, and awareness field turned toward the sound. Ambassador Kim Hanna walked calmly down the central aisle, her footsteps echoing in the vast space. Park Jinho and Lee Miho flanked her, along with a small group of human diplomats. She looked exactly as she had 1 year ago, calm, confident, and completely unafraid of the assembled alien power around her. "You!" Zektar's voice carried a year's worth of frustration and confusion. "What have you done to us?" Hannah reached the center of the chamber and smiled that same mysterious human expression that had made the aliens uncomfortable a year ago. "We did nothing to you, Council Prime. We simply helped you see what was already there." She raised her hand, and holographic displays filled the air above the chamber. But instead of showing human weapons or military forces, the images showed something far more powerful. Detailed studies of every council species, their hidden desires, their suppressed cultures, and their secret resentments. For 1,000,000 years, you maintained unity through fear and intimidation. But forced unity isn't real cooperation. It's just slavery with better decorations. All we did was remove the pressure, and your natural differences came back to the surface. Council Member Vree, the crystal being, flashed angry colors. You destroyed alliances that lasted for thousands of years. "We freed species that were never truly allies," Hannah corrected gently. "Tell me, when was the last time the builders and shapers worked together because they wanted to, instead of because you ordered them to?" Silence filled the chamber. The crystal beings and energy beings, when did they ever share technology out of friendship rather than fear of punishment? More uncomfortable silence. The truth is, this council was never a union of equals. It was an empire disguised as a democracy, where the strongest species ruled over everyone else. Dr. Song Nari stepped forward from a human group. "We studied every species in this chamber. Do you know what we discovered? Not enemies, potential friends who had simply never been allowed to choose their own partnerships." New holographic displays appeared, showing a completely different picture of the galaxy. Species were forming new groups based on shared interests instead of forced hierarchy. The Artist Alliance, 15 species sharing creative technologies because they actually enjoy working together. The Explorer Coalition, races that love discovery more than conquest. The Peacekeeper Union, species that specialize in solving conflicts instead of starting them. Admiral Cho Sunwoo appeared as a large hologram in the center of the chamber. "Humanity never wanted to rule the galaxy, Council Prime. We wanted to set it free." Zektar's light pulsed with desperate energy. "This is conquest by deception. You've destroyed our civilization." "No," Hannah replied, her voice kind but firm. "We revealed that your civilization was already broken. The question now is, what do we build to replace it?" She activated one final display, a document that looked like a treaty or constitution. The Galactic Federation. True representation for every species, based on voluntary membership, rather than forced submission. No single species holds ultimate power. Decisions require real agreement, not just obedience to whoever has the biggest weapons. And what role would humanity play in this federation? Asked Thokran, suspicion clear in his translated voice. "Coordinators," Hannah answered. We seem to be good at helping different species understand each other, but we would be one voice among many, not your rulers. Part Jinho stepped forward. We learned something important during this past year, honored delegates. Humanity's greatest skill isn't fighting wars, it's ending them. You see, Dr. Song added, every human war taught us the same lesson. Real victory isn't about defeating your enemy. It's about turning your enemy into your friend. The chamber fell completely silent as the aliens absorbed what they were hearing. Species that had been preparing for devastating warfare suddenly realized they had been offered something completely unexpected. Genuine choice. This is your proposal? Zektar asked, his voice barely a whisper. After a year of warfare, Hannah's smile was warm and genuine. Council Prime, the war ended the moment we realized we weren't fighting against each other. We were fighting for each other, for every species' right to choose its own path. She looked around the chamber, making eye contact with as many beings as possible. The old council is dead. The question is, are you ready to help us build something better? 5 years later, Ambassador Kim Hannah stood on the observation deck of the new Federation station, watching ships from dozens of species dock together in peaceful cooperation. The station was smaller than the old council headquarters, but it felt more alive, built through genuine partnership instead of imposed design. The galaxy had learned that sometimes the best way to win a war was to make sure nobody had to fight it in the first place.